Now, what are these results telling us? Please don't forget that these results are not just numbers. They all give us some information about the project. They tell us how we are doing with the project. In the exam, you will need to comment on the given numbers. Let's analyze the results right now. We found the budget, actual cost, planned value and earned value from the question directly. BAC is the created budget at the very beginning of the project. This tells us we should not exceed $100,000 at the end of the project. AC is our actual cost until now. This is, we have already spent $90,000 until now. PV is the planned value. This result tells us, according to our schedule, we should spend $80,000 until now. EV is the earned value and it says we have installed pipeline and this installed pipeline should cost us $75,000. Since our real cost is $90,000, we can easily say that we are behind the schedule. Since we are behind the schedule, our SPI, the Schedule Performance Index, is less than 1. And also, SV, the schedule variance, is less than 0. Therefore, if SPI is less than 1, we should weight SV to be less than 0. Or vice versa is also true. If SV is less than 0, we should weight SPI to be less than 1. Both are telling us the same thing. We are not in a good situation for our schedule. Although earned value tells us our installed pipeline should cost us $75,000, we have spent $90,000 for it. Therefore, it seems like we are spending too much for each meter of pipeline, which is bad. We can conclude this by just saying CPI value or CV value. As you can see, our CPI, the Cost Performance Index, is less than 1 and CV, the cost variance, is less than 0. If CPI is less than 1, our CV value will be less than 0, or vice versa is also true. If CV is less than 0, then CPI should be less than 1. Let's see the results we obtain from the calculations from first assumption. If we are assuming same spending rate for the future spending, CPI will affect our results. Since CPI is less than 1, our EAC, estimate at completion value, is greater than BAC, the budget. This is to say, at the beginning, we planned to end up with a cost of $100,000, but due to our cost performance until now, our new estimation for the total cost at the end of the project is $120,481.93. Here, please note that if CPI was greater than 1, then EAC value would be less than $100,000. Since VAC is the difference between BAC and EAC, and since EAC is greater than BAC, our VAC is less than 0. Therefore, we can also say for our first assumption that if CPI is less than 1, then VAC value will be less than 0. Our second assumption tells us future spending rate will be same as planned at the beginning. Therefore, we only deal with this CPI rate until today. The remaining will continue as we planned at the beginning. Again, if CPI is less than 1, our EAC value for the second assumption will be greater than our budget. But this time, since future spending will continue as we planned at the beginning, it is less than the EAC value we found for our first assumption. If CPI was greater than 1, then it would be less than we found for the first assumption. Since EAC is greater than our budgeted cost, VAC, the variance at completion for second assumption, is also less than 0 since CPI is less than 1. In our third assumption, we say that our future spending will be affected not only by CPI but also by SPI. Since the values are affecting by both indexes, there will be too many variations. Therefore, we cannot make any comment on the EAC value that if it's going to be greater than or less than the budget by only looking at CPI. We can only make comment on VSU value. If EAC is greater than the budget, then VAC will be less than 0. If EAC was less than the budget, then VAC will be greater than 0. To complete performance index, TCPI equals to 2.5. To complete performance index is the future cost performance index we should have for our future spending to complete the project within the budget. TCPI equals to 2.5 means if you want to complete the project within the budget, which is $100,000, our future cost performance index should be 2.5. By only looking at this index, since it is greater than 1, we can conclude that our project is over budget right now. This is bad. If TCPI gets higher, the probability of completing the project within its budget gets lower. In our situation, the complete performance index is 2.5 and it is high. Therefore, we conclude that our probability of completing the project at $100,000 is less. This is also bad.